Uh, all right, cool, man. All right, so now we are live, and yeah. As I was saying, no, yeah. In terms of, let's see, how should we kick this off? So I initially came across Polysights. You were one of the first protocols that I came across,
Oh wow.
and yeah, like very first, like when I was exploring the whole poly market prediction market ecosystem, it was like
Right.
Polymarket and Polysight, and that was like one of the first kind of protocols I came across. And I find your product really interesting because well, let's start like this. How about you talk a little bit about your background, how you got into
Absolutely. Yeah.
prediction
Yeah.
markets? You know,
Yeah. So basically, for myself, first, like I said, I want to apologize for anyone watching. Not usually in this setup. I'm not in a crack house. This is a little bit embarrassing for my normal setup, but it's just kind of a temporary thing right now with my son. But for prediction markets, basically, how I got introduced into them was just the U.S. elections a couple years ago. It really got me intrigued into the markets. The volume was quite high. And I just kind of realized this was like an emerging thing. I mean, people in my life that didn't even use crypto, that didn't really use, that didn't really kind of like gamble or use a lot of like volatility, they really enjoyed prediction markets, and I kind of saw that there was a retail bridge for it, and I really got excited to build towards it. But yeah, as a consumer, I've been prediction markets for a couple of years now. I've really seen like the growth in this space. People thought that poly market was gonna top in volume years ago, and it's only like exponentially grown. So yeah, just that's how I really initially got into it with polysites. Just started as like a casual builder, was experimenting with some data as a data scientist, and just started finding some like really interesting metrics. And over time, built out like a beta for our app, released that in April, and since then, just added more and more features. But really excited for where it's at now. But to be honest with you, it's definitely small potatoes compared to what's going to be. We'll get to that later, but I'm really excited to what's coming for V1.
so do you come from a crypto background, or
Oh
sorry
man.
if you mentioned this, but like really you come from a development, but like what's your blockchain background? If it sounds like you have a
Oh
pretty
man,
in-depth one.
I don't know. I feel like I started in the trenches almost like 5 years ago. Like I used to be in the Air Force as an engineer. Found a lot of success in e-commerce and also started bridging into Web3 at that time. Eventually left to pursue this stuff full time. And the first thing I did was get into meme coins like most people did. I think SafeMoon was like the big one that like really got me like really hooked into crypto.
Oh, yeah.
And that was like the poison, right? Like the pill to get me going. But from there I started getting involved. Launched a couple coins, like over 100 million market cap before 2023. Post 2023, I worked on the Blast blockchain. For anyone who knows Blast, like that was quite the experience. I wanted to double down on Pac-Man, but I don't know. We had 500K revenue. I bootstrapped a domain service on that chain. Did really well. Had thousands of users, but I couldn't solve the problem of no users on the chain, right? So built all the way into December, and then that's when I was like, okay, at this point, like we did our best. We can only do so much. I think it's time to move on. And then eventually went into Polysites. So working on Polysites since January, started as a side project, and then that's where it kind of all started.
Man, it's so funny that you mentioned SafeMoon because I feel like so many of us had the same story. Like SafeMoon was our first kind of entry into
Absolutely.
blockchain. It's so funny you mentioned that because like when I first got in, I was also in the
Oh yeah.
SafeMoon cohort, and the guys would come on and they'd talk about it, and they were like, and I remember telling my brother, I was like, this is so innovative. This is like
Yeah.
next level tech.
That was it. Like
Like
that
these
was the
guys, I can
pinnacle of
relate.
crypto. Like that was.
Yeah,
But it was a great bridge, though.
I was like,
Like it brought us all there.
yeah, it was
I think that's what
just
poly
so
market's gonna
funny.
do for a lot of people too. I think it's
Um,
gonna bring a lot of people, like prediction markets in general, right? Like I think it's gonna bring a lot of people on board that haven't even touched crypto before, or touched prediction markets, right? That's what I'm excited for.
yeah,
That's funny though that you touched it as well. I mean, that was a bridge.
yeah, that was the bridge. That was the bridge for me because because it was
Mm,
about getting in early. Like so much of the crypto ethos is just about getting into something early, and everyone when they first come in, their mindset is, okay,
right.
what's the next Bitcoin? And the next Bitcoin, they look at meme coins, they look at SafeMoon, So they get sold on the tech. I think SafeMoon had like this taxation thing that they
Right.
did or something
And it
like
was the
that, where they
timing too, because
taxed.
I feel like it was shortly after like the huge GME craze and all that, so people are already in that kind of like hyper gambling mode, like seeing things go like absolutely nuts, and they kind of got addicted to those X's, right? Like they saw GME go like 100x plus, 1000x plus, or whatever it went, and they want to replicate that. And crypto was like that every single week, every single day at one point. Like it was, it got crazy. So, but love it. I love this space personally, and this space specifically as well. Prediction markets has been my favorite to build in. I just find everyone's like really supportive with each other. Just like everyone kind of lifts each other up. It's more like PVE over PvP. I really been enjoying it the last like 10 months now. I feel like now I've been in it full time, but yeah, I'm loving it. I'm not sure if you feel the same, but
No, I feel this. I feel like it's like out of everything I've done, and by the way, I
oh
did the
yeah, so
GME thing
yeah.
too.
See, that's
So
what
it's,
that was your bridge. It was the TME into seafood, like
yeah, well, literally, it was first GME, and then, like you
yeah,
said, it was SafeMoon. So I literally jumped to GME first, bought a bunch of options, botched that up because eventually everything collapsed. And I think there was that one weekend where like
yeah, they
Robinhood
did.
stopped all the orders, and I decided to hold during that weekend. I was like, you know what, I'm going to
Right.
hold instead of sell. Monday morning, we can't access our
Yeah.
orders, we can't
Yeah,
sell,
Robin Hood
whole
was
thing
against everybody.
tanks.
No,
Yeah,
we
then
don't
then
forget that
cycle
caption
back
if
in.
anyone's listening. No.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. Now they're like in prediction markets too, and I'm bullish for it. But I think like to go back to what you were saying, this is definitely the most bullish I felt about
Yeah,
a meta
I
or a
agree.
space. I don't even think it's a meta, but like it feels so early, and it feels something that transcends crypto. It feels like it's its own thing. It's its own
Absolutely.
asset class. And so I think that the reason why we're feeling like as builders we're like supporting each other and stuff like that, we feel this this type of energy is because we're literally in the ground floor of something. I think Poly Market, like if you had gone back a few years ago and said, yeah, predict it is going to be
You're
like the
right.
future of
Oh my goodness,
you
that's
know
so funny.
like they have like this concept like this is going to
Right.
take over the world. I think there'd
Yeah,
be a
if
lot of
only they doubled down.
skepticism.
That's actually had so
um,
much potential, but yeah, that's crazy.
yeah.
But yeah, so how long have you been in crypto
Yeah,
for
yeah.
yourself?
I've been in crypto probably same
Oh, I guess
amount of
I
time
guess
as
we just
you.
talked about it. I'm
I
like,
think I
my goodness, we literally just talked about this whole thing, and I just asked you the same question.
no, I think I mean maybe you've been in it a bit longer than I have because I was around 2020. So
Right.
pandemic hit, and then I was looking for a new job, and then obviously crypto showed up, and I think that's when the speculation went crazy. So I got in as a speculator, and then
Right.
I fell in love with the tech, and then I learned smart contract development.
Right.
Um, for yeah, so I think same kind of similar story to you, but you are also a developer too, right? You also um,
I have some development experience. I'll be honest with you. Polysights was the first app I've ever personally created. I'm not really much of a UI UX designer. I'm more of a data scientist. More of like an entrepreneur, CEO kind of style entrepreneur, like I guess like business side of things. As a developer, like that's something I'm still learning. But I'm hiring out a really talented team for V1. Met a guy at a private Solana Foundation dinner last year, and he's ex Ubisoft, and he's local to me in Halifax, and the guy is insanely talented. Just picked him up as like a technical lead here, and like the talent we're onboarding here, like ex Meta, ex Google, ex Ubisoft, a lot of people that are really gonna lift this up to where it needs to be. I think Polysights is great for where it's at. It's been fantastic, lots of features that are working well. But like I said, man, V1 is gonna be absolutely insane because I just need the help at this point because I really solo founded this at this point, and with having Justin helping with social media and all that, that was a big help. But to be honest with you, it's been a grind, especially with how fast this market's scaling. Like it's happening so quick.
how do you guys meet? How did your team come together? So right now, if I understand it, it's you and Justin
Pretty much, yeah,
primarily.
exactly. And
How did you guys come together?
basically, I was introduced to him. So I met someone else at a private dinner, private Solana Foundation dinner, and he was actually going to be one of our blockchain developers when we were going to head into the execution phase. But he got picked up by a big company, and I started searching for other talent. But he introduced me to Justin. Justin is an engineer at Waterloo. Waterloo in Canada is like the MIT of Canada, pretty much. So a fantastic school, insanely talented. And for us, we needed somebody that had like a strong Web2 angle with TikTok. Like me personally, I built 1.5 million ad spend, with like Facebook ads and things like that. But I was too early to like the whole TikTok craze, and that whole trend is so different. So I need someone that could reverse engineer those algorithms. Justin has like 300K plus followers on TikTok, like thousands of followers on Instagram. Like he just knows how to market to Web 2. And one of our moats in Polysights in the future here will be kind of like a more retail focused app, to kind of like have like a more like retail UI, so it's more simplistic for them. They can understand things a little easier, and he's gonna market that really well for us. So that was a big reason for him. Also have more of like a face of the brand type thing. That's something that I lack whenever I bootstrap products. I usually don't have the time to kind of like continuously do updates on my personal account and have that face of the brand thing. So having Justin post for us was fantastic. You know, just having the kind of like personability was great. So yeah, I think he's a fantastic hire, and long term, like we'll have him on, you know, for helping us with social media. But yeah, it's pretty much just us two right now, and you know, with how fast things are scaling, it's been quite crazy. But love to have that guy. I love that guy, man. He's been awesome. He's been helping us out a lot.
Yeah, I like your brand too, like that, like just the whole feel of it. With it
Oh,
feels
thank you.
very, yeah, it feels very like fresh. I like the, and I think you do a good job. Like I think you're exactly right on that insight, which is like mind share is super important nowadays, right?
Absolutely.
Like I think the Cluely thing kind of changed everything for that. It's like, we saw Cluely come up, and I didn't even try their tech, right?
I didn't, but you still hear about them all the time, and like I know who this guy is, and it's like I don't even know what tool he even is really. Like
Yeah, yeah. I think it's like an AI video transcriber or something like that, but
some
it's like
cheap
more
something
advanced than
software.
that.
Something,
But
I don't know, but I hear about it all the time. So he's doing his marketing is unbelievable. So that's for
yeah,
sure.
his marketing team is next level.
Yeah.
I think that, like, and I think that is changing the game. So having a guy like Justin on board, I think is like, I think your insight is like very good on that.
Appreciate it.
Um, so I wanted to ask you, like, in terms of the aha moment for Polysites, like, what was, and you may have mentioned this already, but what was your kind of like this is the direction that we need to go for tackling prediction markets. Like this is,
Right. I'll be honest with you. That's actually changed over the months. I can tell you how it started and where it kind of went since then. Like how we first started was when I started making these metrics. I noticed that Polymarket didn't have kind of like a lot of drill down metrics. Like they didn't have like historic data for like open interest. Like when you go on Polymarket, for example, like you see volume metrics, you see like your top holders, you see comments, you see like your visuals, and you see your activity tab. But honestly, like the information in front of you is quite limited until you actually connect to their API. When you actually connect to the API and start like storing historic data, then you can actually like, kind of drill down into more additional metrics. So we would have like data down to like an hour, like hour deltas for volume, open interest, price changes, all that kind of stuff. So I just noticed that no one was doing that right now. Like even like some of the bigger platforms like Polymarket Analytics wasn't doing that at the time, and I'm not even sure they added it yet. But so I just saw a gap there. So I didn't see like kind of like a more complex platform. So I created Polysites and went from there. I basically just kind of found like tested a lot of different custom metrics that I found were quite useful. There was a lot of additional metrics that I had, but I kind of scrapped them and kept the ones that were the most useful. So things like expected slippage, adjusted volatility, like trend strength, things like that. But yeah, I just found like I just want kind of like more in-depth information for individual markets, and that was kind of our first of individual moat, kind of getting into it. And then from there, added more features. One thing I'd love to share on the stream actually would be like the AI summarization tool. That's one thing I added early that had a lot of support. But the Insider Finder, man, that was the big one. Like honestly, going towards like in July, I launched the Insider Finder tool, and honestly, with our focus now, we've realized that that's what people want. They kind of just want like that alpha. And maybe, and I also noticed that having all these advanced metrics are quite difficult to consume. So going towards like the agentic side to be able to basically ingest digest all these metrics properly and kind of like spit them back, to the user in a digestible way, in a simplistic way, is going to be one goal for us, and also kind of like an arc of intelligence style platform for Polysites. So that's what the direction is now. But where it started was definitely more just like, hey, I don't really see a lot of advanced metrics out there for Polymarket, so let's build something that's pretty comprehensive.
yeah, it's interesting that you said, I was just about to ask that. With the thing that I think you guys are being known for the most right now is probably insider tracking.
Absolutely, not it's not
And
even close. Yeah.
yeah, and this is like what I think people are starting to associate you with, which is which I have a personal fascination in this whole insider thing with Polymarket, because again, the story goes, I think during that Iran Israel conflict, right?
Hmm.
I heard somewhere that basically the it came about from a leak essentially. So the first person to know about this conflict or catch wind about this conflict, you could see it on Polymarket.
Right.
So you could see
You
insider
trace it
trade
right
happening.
back to that exact moment where they bought it in like a big bag, like right. They had that info in the inside. As someone that is an ex-government employee, it's just you do have a lot of information that just isn't public at the end of the day. Like some people do violate their security clearances at the end of the day, and there's a lot of things out there that they want to get personal profits on. I think with having all these additional markets, it's just inevitable you're gonna have insiders. It's just a reality. So that's how I thought when I first built this tool. I'm like, if I were an insider and I had insider information, like how would I trade? I'm like, well, not like Poly market's decentralized. Like at the end of the day, even if I find an insider trade, I directly tie their identity unless I'm trying to go to the FBI or some ridiculous nonsense, right? And even then, it's going to be nearly impossible. So I just had to think of it like how insiders would trade, and that's how I set up the filters. And from there, I tried to adjust those filters, put weights on scores. I'll go in more depth with that soon here. But yeah, like I just noticed that there was a lot of interesting activity, and we were at a smaller stage here. Like when I first launched in July, we were finding a lot of crazy things. I think now, like the bigger we're getting, people are kind of noticing that like we are tracking them, and I think some people are like they try to bait other buyers from new wallets, and they try to reverse engineer our filters and try to catch people. And two, there's always a chance that there's arbitrage traders, new whales, new wallets experimenting, etc., and things like that, right? But yeah, I'm really excited for V1 because there's a lot of things that I haven't really like released and kept kind of under the radar that I don't want to share yet. Notice a lot of people kind of like copying our features, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna kind of like wait to put these all out, and the next version of Insider Finder is gonna be pretty dang insane, I must say.
Yeah, I have like a whole bunch of questions just based off that. So
Sorry,
I
I
just
ramble a lot. It's coming off sometimes. I kind of like yap so much, so.
no, it's great. It's great, honestly. But like, so my first question, I think, is how do you handle that? How do you handle building in public? Because you guys are out in the open, you're in public. Just for like a builder founder kind of perspective, um, what's your take on kind of that? Like how like when are you sharing too much? When are you like what's the right amount to kind of share publicly and openly in
Um,
this?
I I feel like it always depends on like where you're building, what you're doing. If you're in memes, for example, obviously it's very momentum based. I mean, most of the space is momentum based. But we're with this Polysite specifically in the space we're in now. I think there's a good balance between like releasing new features and testing new boundaries and kind of like giving out too much. I think that we scaled so much, like our space scaled so much in August. Excuse me, and I noticed that a lot of features we were putting out were being copied by a couple projects. I won't name names, hashtag, but they kept putting, they kept copying a few of our products that we put out there. Fantastic tool, by the way. They're actually a great team and a great tool. But I just noticed some people were like, I need to make features that aren't, I guess, like copyable. But yeah, I guess like the balance would kind of just be keeping that mind share up. Like, continuously testing, continuously updating tools. Like don't put out too many different things. Like focus on just a few things at once and continuously update them. Is my best opinion. That's what I did with Polysights. I found like with Insider Timer tool, like I could release more tools at this point, but I want to continuously upgrade these ones until they get to a better point. Once these get to a better point, then we can focus on another mode. But at this point, find your audience, find exactly what people want, find what the pain points are, or what people are looking for. In this case, we only had 500 followers until I released the Insider Finder tool, and that was in July. And from July to now, we're at 6.1K. So obviously for us, the Insider Finder was the biggest win. We have to build upon that. We have our audience now, and we continue to scale. So if everyone's position is different. For me in e-commerce, one of my best stores, I had an ad go viral. Like it was a pet bed store. It was like a dog running in a hallway or something jumping. I don't know. The old ladies loved it, and for some reason they kept sharing it. And I got lucky, so I kept funding that ad. And because of that one ad, you just kind of roll with the punches, right? You just roll how things go, and you figure it out. So that was my audience, and then all of a sudden I had South Africa as one of my top audiences. So instead of like having the top three, I focused on South Africa for my main targeting. So you just always have to roll with how people approach you. You scale from there, and then you kind of you bridge out. So that's what I did with Polysites. Just focusing on like the advanced analytics, adding more and more custom metrics. Started with like 20, 30. Now we have 60. With the Insider Finder tool, added visualizations, and now from here it's just like, okay, find exactly where we want to focus on, how I'm going to hire out, and like where we're going to actually like grow this into like an enterprise level tool. But yeah, it just takes time. Like people kind of rush things too fast in this space, right? Like I've been working on this for quite some time. Like I did get lucky as well with putting all this time into building this in like early January, then having the space grow. That's also just like I will say there's a lot of luck in that space, but you have to create that opportunity for yourself. So
So let's get back to Insider Finder. So what to me, when I look at prediction markets and I see these insights, so I'm going to ask you about like some of the more interesting things you've seen on chain,
Okay.
um, through Insider Finder, but also but or on prediction markets rather. But also, what I want to kind of ask you is, do you see this becoming like a future WikiLeaks type of thing? Like, you have all these insiders leaking in. Like, where do you think this is going in
I think
terms of?
that I think we're gonna have like a unique version of like an Arkham Intelligence style platform here, where we do have insider information, anomaly tools, risk assessments, a lot of things that aren't offered out there right now. But I think like Arkham Intelligence is a great platform, but I think there are ways that it could be kind of like altered towards like a more degen mindset, I guess, if that makes sense. Like it's more for like kind of like professional traders and analysts, whereas like I think we can kind of like meet in the middle with that product. So that's where we're gonna be focusing heavily on. But another thing I want to talk about in the future, which is not outside the Insider Finder, we'll talk about this later as well, is how fast like the agentic tech is scaling. Like it was quite like overrated for quite some time, but now it's actually in a decent spot. And I think in the next like 2 years, it's going to get crazy. The people who are building early in that now and starting to gather data, training their models, getting those accuracy scores up, are really going to benefit from it like, at this stage. Just because I think that the ability for those agents to kind of gather the data and actually find actual insights on it is just so much faster than human. And in prediction markets, like if you this might be like you might disagree with this, but a lot of them are, like they're similar to binary options in a way. Like that's why they're banned in Ontario actually here is because they consider them binary options. And with binary options, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. They're quants, mathematicians, PhDs who've put their life into this like the 70s, 80s, 90s, very successful people. But those tools were blocked behind Wall Street, because you couldn't use those tools. So I think now there's definitely a possible edge for retail if you can combine all this historic success, in binary options, and also combine this new tech with like agentic AI. I think there's going to be a lot of edge for retail, and that gap between institutions and the average trader can be much smaller than it was before. But yeah, for the insider finder tool, man, like that's another side I'll talk about later. That's a big focus we're gonna have. It's talking to a lot of different subnets for that, man. It's gonna be fun. But insider finder, man, love where it is now. Would love to kind of explain like how it works if you'd like, and kind of like how we kind of get the traders and all that. So yeah, what I did right now. So basically, we scan every single trade on Poly Market. Like I have tons of scripts, like Python scripts running in the cloud. I have things going, with Gold Sky, all that, whatnot. And I have all these kind of like live trades being pulled in. And what I do is I try to like weigh, like add specific metrics that have weights to it. So one of the metrics that I added, for example, is like connect to the Polygon scan API. I see exactly like when. Actually, it might be easier if we pull up the Insider Finder, we open a card. It'd be even easier to explain it, I think.
Let's see. Let
If
me
you
go.
click that hamburger menu on the right. If you go back to that yeah, click that hamburger menu, click Insider Finder, and then card view. Yeah, right there, and then card view. Yeah, perfect. You scroll down a little bit. You're already on it. Perfect. So I'll explain. So all the metrics here. So basically, that on that bottom right there on the user metrics, that third last one, wallet creation slash transaction percentage. So basically what I do is like this is a great one right here. I measure like the time difference between when a wallet was created on Polymarket and when the trade was actually implemented. So say like a user just created a wallet on Polymarket, deposited the funds, and bought it in the market right away. Like that's usually someone that's like really either extremely convicted doing ARB or most likely an insider trying to get into a trade like right away. So something like that we add like a small score to, and all these different metrics go into this like gigantic radar score that you see in the top. So that the chart is weighted depending on like the entry of the trade, the size of the trade, how many unique markets the trader participated in, their trade concentration. So how many markets? If it's 100% trade concentration, that means 100% of their trades are in one specific market. And then you have your wall creation and transaction delta. So that's weighted on a score, and the higher that score is the higher chance of an insider is what we've seen. And I basically like altering the weights over time, figuring out like what's the most successful. We started with a different filter. I was only doing trades above 5,000 at one point, so that the trades weren't updated as often. Whereas now, like I have it down to just a $1,000 metric. But obviously, at this point, with having it so much lower, it's so much higher of a chance of not being insider. So you really have to use that score now. And one thing I really want to clear up. So if you go back to the table view, if you scroll up for a second, if you don't mind, if you go to the table view, so this is kind of like shows you like the more general view of all the data. People assume, that every single trade that comes in here is an insider. I will say right now that it's the reason why I have it listed like this is because it's almost impossible to pick out these insiders in the same group from the aggregation traders, from the ARB traders, and from those new wallets. So you have to pick them out from this list, and that's why I implemented the radar score. The higher that score is, the higher chance of that insider. But all these trades here they don't mean that they're insider trades. I have a disclaimer on the top. It says there like it could be multitude different people. Yeah, right there. It's a little disclaimer. People always miss that disclaimer. I'm telling you, but like it doesn't guarantee insider activity. All these trades here do not guarantee insider activity. Don't go copy trade every single trade you see on this list. It's not gonna. They're not all insiders. That's all I want to say. I think there's a big misconception here. The reason why we've grown is because the most profitable insiders and the ones I've actually worked out the most are the ones that we post, the ones I post specifically on X, and that's why our record's so high. Because the ones that we get a lot of signals for, I dive into even more. Like beyond just getting the signal here, I go into a bunch of different metrics, and when I feel very confident about it, that's when I post on the X. But yeah, at the end of the day, score is the best thing in my opinion to use to find the insiders. Sorry for yapping here, man. I'm going off.
No, 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 that was great. That was so. I think like in terms of insiders. So basically, point of fact is the key and I think you mentioned it, but what are like the key, like a couple key things where you absolutely
the
know
ones
it's
that
an
like I feel
insider, right?
where I feel the most confident. I feel like I can never like say 100% of the time. I feel like there's times where I'm like 90% or 95%, right? Times where I feel confident enough to put my reputation on the line to post it on the X, which has been quite often. We're at 12-1 now, but I'd say like the main metrics, the delta between when a wallet was created and when the first transaction was placed, for trade concentration. So basically, like if all of our trades are in one market, like total trade doesn't matter because sometimes people will buy multiple times, right? So just if they're buying in one, but even if it's just 50%, sometimes they're buying two different markets. Like the Eric Adams market, we had users that were buying that Eric Adams dropping out, and they're also hedging that he was going to endorse Cuomo, whatever his last name was, right? So they bought both markets because they wanted to get in early on the second one in hopes for secondary trade. And actually, at this point, I'm pretty sure that market's at like 86%. So people who did buy both those markets are successful. But yeah, so wall creation to transaction delta is the big one. Trade concentration is a big one as well. Size is a big one as well. I think it's rare that people are putting in like the $1,000 buys. It does happen though. That's why we put it out there. So size is a big one for us as well. And I'd also say just like the entry price. Just because like the entry price is something to look into, it doesn't always represent or always a be all end all metric. But if you combine it with like the other metrics and kind of give you some more information, like say like someone entered at like 20 cents, and then they keep buying like 25, 26, or say they entered at a higher price, the price drops and they continuously buy and they still have conviction they don't sell. That's a good sign. Like the Lord Miles market, for example, like that first money please wallet that bought no before the market dropped. There's a lot of wallets that just like they bought no at like strange times, right? So it's just like the timing of the buy, when the wallet was created, like when the first transaction was created from that wallet, what the trade concentration is, and basically that general radar score. So the main ones are in that radar score, but there's a lot of metrics that we don't have, I guess, like live that I've noticed that we've also missed. I guess like the Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce one, like the one that they're gonna get married or not. Our tool didn't pick that one up. So ones that we missed, like I go into it and I try to like kind of study it and see like why like our tool didn't pick up. And I'm starting to uncover some things that I didn't realize before. Started to realize that some people are starting to recycle wallets and buy, really really small on a bunch of different markets, and all of a sudden they'll come in big with like $5,000 buy or something, or they'll start to kind of like accumulate slow. It's all these little strategies that I'm now studying quite heavily and going to be implementing for the next update that I'm excited about.
Yeah, it's funny because these things are kind of like, they make sense, right? To a certain degree. It's like, okay, if you're an insider and you're kind of just getting onto prediction markets, obviously you're going to start with a fresh wallet, right? Start with a fresh wallet. The little buys make sense. Like psychologically, maybe that's just like, people are like, oh, if I make a big buy,
Right.
it'll get picked up more. And obviously there's like this thing where you're observing them, and by you observing them, it's like that physics principle, right? It's like you observe them, and then like
Right.
it moves. So like it's interesting.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
Have
Go ahead.
you?
I was
No,
gonna
no,
say, I
no,
guess some
no,
other things
no,
that
no,
also
please.
help is just like how many other signals you get on a specific market. Like the biggest one I'd say we got early, not earlier this year. I guess it was, yeah, I'd say earlier this year. It was around like August, because only 2 months ago. Was the MicroStrategy insiders. So there were just so many different wallets buying with such crazy size. And we only had like a few hundred followers, so I don't think anyone was really noticing us like like tracking them or not. And they were insane. They all profited like $500,000, and then some of those wallets like still bought the same market like the next like week or something. Like there was another market that came up with MicroStrategy. They bought it again. So obviously it was like someone that knew that they were going to purchase Bitcoin or something. But it was just crazy. So sometimes when you see a lot of weird activity, that was why I had the confidence to post the Eric Adams one. Like it wasn't just one or two. It was like several different strange buys over a long period of time with all those metrics I posted before. And I was like, okay, like this isn't just one or two. This is like 6, 7, 8 at this point, and they're all weird, like strange things. Like, I don't think this is a coincidence. So like I said, like, it's never 100% confidence, but it's like I don't know. There's just like kind of like you gotta outweigh, all the things happening that's going on. Lord Miles is the only one we got wrong, and even then, the one that we got with Lord Miles being wrong, we still picked up Lord Miles like on the insider fund. The one that his famous, infamous wallet that's now caught was one we also picked up, and some traders said like thanked us actually because they used our tool to catch that trade and they exited before he sold on them. But yeah, so we're always still learning though. There's always things to pick up. There's always different metrics. There's different APIs you can connect to learn more information. But yeah, it's still beta. Like it's still very early to be honest with you. But I'm always learning personally.
Have you, so obviously you're exposing a lot of insiders, right? And people, eventually we're going to have like the CoffeeZillas come on here and things post prediction stuff like that. Like that's inevitably going to happen. Have
Absolutely, yeah.
you received any? This is kind of like a weird question, but have you received any? DMs, or have you received any like people who are like, yeah, like, do you feel like you're upsetting
I
things a little
I
too much?
that's funny because I was worried about that, and I did get DM'd from a few journalists when we went viral for the Mr. Beast one. So Mr. Beast had a market where he was raising $40 million for his water project. This is actually one of our biggest mindshare spikes here. We went from like 900 followers to like 1,600 just in a few days. Basically, like I saw a bunch of strange buys on that market, and then right before I was like, I don't know, like I need something bigger before I post about it. A crazy buy came in with like it was like the radar score was like almost full, and I was like, okay, this is insane. Like I have to post about this. Like this is too much. And I posted about it on the X, and then just 3 hours later, like they got a $5 million donation, and the chance, like the odds went from like 50% to like 85 or 90 or whatever. But from there, I got a lot of mind share, and I started getting messages from some journalists. So someone from Wall Street Journal actually reached out, and someone from Bloomberg reached out, and like they're like, hey, like just interested in all this, maybe we can talk about it. But obviously, like I think they're just kind of curious on things. Like I think they realize that like I only have so much information. Like I'm not sitting here like a spy here with all this like secret information that people don't have, right? So I think they're just more curious on like how I was doing it, how I was working on the tool, kind of like how we're doing now. But it's still interesting. But as far as like being like worried about it, I wouldn't say so, because at the end of the day, even if I do identify an insider, like I can't really like with confidence like say who it is unless I go to like an agency or something. There are companies out there that could do that, but it's not in my interest to go and like highlight them and then identify them specifically unless they cause harm, of course. But at that point, it's like it's crypto, right? Like, it's hard to explain. So at this point, my whole goal is just to make other people money. I want people to try to find this anomaly activity, and there's a lot of times that we found several each month. So as long as I can make other people money and have them find edges in the space, that's the whole goal for me.
Yeah. I mean, I think so. I think that's right. Right, like people can trade. People can. I mean, people will use this primarily for trading. The extra work comes in like finding out who that is, but that's not your
Right.
prerogative at all.
No.
You're a tool, and I like if I were to relate you to, another product in crypto, I'd say that you're almost like a very advanced kind of blockchain scanner
Mm.
for prediction markets, right? Like you're like with more features going on. So you're able to kind of like you have like insider tools, but people are going to use you to do the extra detective work.
Oh
you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
yeah,
it's inevitable. But that's okay. It's fun. I love it though. Like it's fun, and at
yeah.
this point, like we're so many people are we've been successful so many times, and like obviously the pressure is on now with how much mind share we're getting. So it's like, okay, like I really gotta be confident now at this point before we start posting one. But even then, like I found several signals on the market that I'm about to make another post tonight, on actually a lighter insider, several of them actually who've been buying, if it's gonna be over 2 billion market cap or not. I've been seeing so many metrics on that, so I think I'm gonna make a post about that tonight. So, but the pressure is definitely on now with having all this mind share. So gotta make sure we get it right. Keep up this 12-1 record that we have.
Do you think it's important for, so like, clearly you're mostly targeting poly market right now, or are you targeting different prediction markets?
I'm in contact with every major prediction market platform right now, like Limitless, Kalshi, Melee, Myriad, all of them. I think right now, like our plan is to go on chain, but like I said before, I don't want to spread too thin until we have all our features kind of like ironed out on one specific platform. I've been really loving Polymarket support, especially over these months. Like I coming from Blast side where I built the product to 500K plus revenue and had like no support from like the founders or the team at all. Like just having them like follow and like post all the time before I even got this like mind share is a big. It makes a big deal as a builder. So, but yeah, it's definitely everything that's on chain. Like Limitless is on chain. Melee's gonna be on chain. Anything that we can just still find metrics for, that's gonna be our main focus as we scale. But right now, mainly poly market until we iron out all our features. V1's still gonna take like months until it comes out. But once we will eventually expand. But like I said, right now is mainly poly market.
So when I think about your product too, I'm thinking sort of similar to Gotham, or is that not correct?
Yeah, Arkham. Yeah, the Arkham Intelligence. Yeah.
Arkham, not Gotham. Sorry.
No, that close enough. I know what you meant. Like I say,
Yeah.
same deal. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Like it's just we want to be like an Axiom slash like Gotham. Okay. That's the same thing we do.
All this bad booth, man. It's
Not
getting
Axiom
confusing.
and Arkham kind of mixed, but one thing I want to have is this. One thing we only have right now. We have a lot of monitoring tools, right? But one thing we don't have live that I really want to focus on is the execution. So that's why I'm hiring out some very talented individuals here, that really focus on like architecture, engineering, and more of like the back end stuff, so we can really iron out things. I have connects at like QuickNode, for example, that can help us to custom RPC. So we'll have that be like the fastest terminal once we have it. Intelligence for is our biggest focus. Using and partnering with other subnets and aggregating these other subnets out there. Information is just king right now, and we also have a lot of our own historic data. I've been snapshotting every single poly market since January, every single hour, and having all that historic data for model training just goes a long way. This is gonna sound so stupid. I said this on the call with a couple of VCs the other day, but like there's a reason like why Tesla's so far ahead of other electric car companies. They have so much data for their autonomous driving that other companies kind of just gave up. They just realized, hey, like we have to go LiDAR, because at this point we can't catch up with this, like how fast and how much data this company has. There's no point. So I think it's obviously this isn't Tesla here, and it's only been a year of data collection compared to like 10, but I still think it's a head start. And people who see that head start and start gathering that information now and start training their models early are going to be the ones that really get ahead of this agentic game. And the agents are coming quick. Like just this might be a bad comparison, but think of like, remember like the AI Will Smith spaghetti video from like 2023, where it was like really shitty quality, and you know what I mean. And then if you look at one now, it's like insane. Like it's like almost perfect. That's 2 years of advancement, 2 years. So like what's going to happen with AI agents in 2 years? I think it's only going to get better. I think OpenAI and a lot of these companies held their cards until it got to a certain point, and now you're already seeing them integrate kind of like a basic agentic. At this point, people are making their own neural networks that they're specific to certain tools. It's all about training. It's all about learning. So I'm just very, very excited to see how this industry scales with that, and how I guess retail is going to be able to find an edge. As long as like the institutions don't, I guess, like leverage that first, and like I guess like tilt that over to retail first, then everyone's gonna be benefiting from this. I think this is a great market to have that tech for.
Yeah, it's funny because because I could see a lot of agents using your, like, the data that you're getting right now. To your point, training on those, making predictions, and especially because the other day I had an idea a while back, about creating an agent that would take in like leaked information. But with Insider Finder, like because the key thing for, like, any agent can get public information, but the key to make an agent like really predict markets well is getting that insider information.
Right.
So I think that training on that is
I try to paint the picture a bit. Like basically, like when we get a signal from the finder, like we'll have that agent dive in and have its own workflow where like one agent's looking at the traders in that market, one agent's looking at like how the market's been moving, like in like historic data. One agent's like every agent has like their own workflow, and at the end they're almost like in a meeting, like discussing what they all found. And then like the CEO of that meeting comes to me, like, hey, like this is exactly, these are our findings, and these are the most actionable. Well, depending on whatever the user decides to select in their interface. So for the user, when we have V1 at one point here, they'll be able to select, hey, do I want monitoring? Do I want execution? What categories do I want to be on? What risk levels? Do I want to track insiders or not? Do I want to use like partnered, like subnet agents, or do I want to use like internal agents? It's going to be like it's so many customizable things for that user, and they'll be able to tailor a strategy for them. Like whether they're just like someone that wants to aggregate info, or if they want to trade off that information, or they're more advanced traders or more like basic traders. I think that we're going to build something for everybody here, as long as like we nail it. So, but yeah, sorry, but I'm rambling again about that.
No, this is great. I mean, I'm just really interested in like the future and like the direction that you're taking it, because it seems like this is, yeah, I can see how you could go like 5 years from now and be like, okay, like the ultimate goal is, first we're tracking insiders, first we're getting all this kind of proprietary, this information that's really hard to
Right.
get, and then
Right.
we're moving into this era where it's going to be like agents are now predicting outcomes. How long do you think traders have before, like right now,
That's a good
I feel
question.
like it's a sport, right?
I know
Where,
exactly where you're going with this too.
yeah,
Like
traders are very good.
how long do they have until this is the meta, right? Like until
Exactly.
like
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Or how long do they have before they have to compete against like the AI agent, right? Because
I
right
think
now it's like they don't have to do that.
I think now you're already seeing a divide between people who are using tools and who aren't. But I think you're gonna see almost like you're almost gonna have to use agents. I say the next like 5 to 10 years. I think like 5 years it might even be like 10 years might even be generous. Like I think 5 years or so, if it scales as fast as all the other tech is scaling, like you're gonna see a meta where it's like almost impossible to beat an agent unless you have insider information, because they're just gonna be able to action all that data way better than a human can, unless a human just has some sort of strategy that is just like a secret, that the agents can't access for whatever reason. But yeah, I really do think that we're gonna see a meta here where you're gonna have like a leaderboard of agents going against each other. People are gonna be able to invest in those agents, kind of like in a PvP arena. You're gonna almost be like the NBA of like fucking trade agents, like going against each other, and you're gonna be able to like invest in them and trade against them and bet on them and stuff. I think that's gonna happen. I really do think. And then obviously people are gonna have their own, but no one's gonna be able to compete against the biggest ones who start early and aggregate those insights early, and who are able to kind of take all this data that's out there and actually like sort through the noise and find what actually works. So people who are most successful with that are going to be very successful in the space in the next 5 to 10 years, I think.
Right. Like eventually, like who's that guy, Nate Silver, who like predicts the outcomes of elections or something like
Yeah.
that, or that guy who had like he had like the special metric for predicting like the past four presidential elections, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh, this other,
I
like
know what you're talking about. Yeah.
yeah, like eventually he's gonna get out predicted by an agent, basically. Like
Right.
eventually, like these agents are gonna get to a point, because right now I feel like prediction markets, we still have an edge, right? If you come in, you're an insightful person, you can make very good estimates, right? You there's no agent that can do that. There's no hedge fund that can do that yet. Whereas in like traditional crypto markets, to be honest with you, on like very short term moves in equity markets, like the AI is better than you. I mean,
Hmm. It's
you
true.
know, it's
Everything's
better.
automated now with that stuff, and you're even kind of seeing that now in prediction markets with a lot of order book imbalance. I find that with markets that don't have as much liquidity, people have their own private bots now that are kind of like eating up those imbalances quite quick to get those EVs. So even then, like it's not as common as you'd see in crypto, but it's honestly like slowly happening. I wouldn't say it's more agents; it's more like like people building their own custom bots. But maybe eventually that's going to be automated by agents at some point where people won't be able to have an edge with their bots unless they have like lightning nodes or something. I don't know, like it's gonna be crazy, but I think it's gonna be a crazy meta. I think we agree on that for sure. Like it's gonna be quite crazy in like the next like 5 to 10 years or something.
Yeah, it's so. I guess I'll kind of wrap it up with some questions on the future of prediction markets, maybe some sci-fi questions, like where in your, and you kind of already talked about with the agent meta, but where do you kind of see the prediction market space going? Like what is the most interesting thing to you? Just again, like 5 to 10 years, but what like where do you see this whole thing going when we can start predicting the outcomes of these events, when we have all this data on insiders, what they're
Right.
doing? um what type of world is that? you know
One, I think, like you said before, you're gonna see a big transition for people who are traditionally sports bettors, like kind of getting into prediction markets, just because like the EV is so much better. Like there's just not as much of a house edge. But what I'm really most excited for is just that retail bridge, kind of the same we were talking about Safe Moon earlier. I think that prediction markets are gonna be the Safe Moon of this generation, like of this cycle. Like my stepfather is very like he doesn't buy options, he doesn't buy crypto. He sent me money for fun for so I could buy him, get him a wallet for prediction markets, and he's like, I had to trade for him, and I send him like the profits or whatever like, for himself. Like he just wants to get involved, he didn't want to deal with it, and now he's like talking about getting his own setup. So he's about to get set up with his own, wallet here shortly to start trading prediction markets, and he's like very risk adverse. So to see that, I already kind of see like that bridge already happening because they're watching like the news all the time and they're seeing people reference Polymarket because that's just the truth. Like Polymarket is so far ahead of legacy media. With us with the Eric Adams market was a great sign of that. Like they put out so many articles in mainstream media saying he wasn't going to drop out. Like week after week, like they kept saying he's not going to do it. Up to like September 16th, he said it's bullshit. The odds on Polymarket were like 70%, and he was still putting articles out saying it's not going to happen. But we just had so many buys, and with the odds being so high, I was like, man, there's no way. Like this is too sketchy. He's probably saying this and still buying on his side. Well, it's just this guy. You never know. Like,
yeah
but but yeah, I don't know. Like I think that retail is going to be a big bridge. Seeing this is going to be another crazy one too, but women are getting into gambling a lot as well. I think someone's going to nail the prediction markets for women here at some point, and I think Poly markets already bridging towards it with Taylor Swift markets and stuff and whatnot. But like women are gambling via like proxy on Labubus and stuff now. Like we're in this a crazy hyper gambling meta. And I think it's only going to get crazier. You're seeing ads everywhere on every sport, every media platform, and we're just kind of that generation now. We're a hyper consumption era. We have people on TikTok, Instagram, 24/7. They like that quick dopamine rush, and prediction markets kind of provide that without all the downside that meme coins had. Whereas like people were always getting rugged. They had honeypots, all these crazy things that we used to deal with and we never really thought about. Like we used to pay like $200 for a transaction on ETH and never even thought about it. It's like what were we doing back then? So now it's like okay, like we have all this positive positivity. It's more PVE than PvP. People are trying to make money together, even though like statistically it is like PvP still, but it doesn't feel as much so. Like people have their conviction and they have their conviction together, whereas like they're not fighting against their friends. If you have a market to share with your friends, it's not someone buying a coin, showing it to your friends and you're dumping on them. It's like, hey, this is a market I have conviction in. This is my information. Let's buy this together. So it's just a different kind of like style that I think is really going to scale. I think it's going to have a lot more room for growth than traditional, like meme coins and traditional betting as well. Just because of how many more options are out there, and if you just combine like all the possible avenues, I think it's only going to continuously scale, and that's why now you're seeing such high valuations. And I don't think they're overvalued. I really do think this market is still so early. Like we were talking about earlier, it just feels like so special. We just have that special feeling. You can just tell that it's gonna explode even more from here. Like you can just feel it.
yeah it's so much easier to conceptualize a prediction or an event than it is to conceptualize like meme coin go up. Like, oh yeah, I think it's going to go up because I like the art. I mean, it's just really hard to like think about that because it's I mean, you look at the team, but you don't know what the team's plans are. But with
Right.
prediction markets, you can you can bet on very specific things, right? It's like, will this guy rug or will he not rug? That's a much
Right.
easier thing to understand than I'll
Yeah.
buy safe return.
Yes, no, and buyer options are way more easy to understand for most people. That's why, like you said, it's just
Yeah,
an easier bridge. That's why I think it's the bridge for retail. You don't gotta worry. You don't
yeah,
have to worry about all this nonsense. So,
yeah. It's gonna
you
be
know,
cool. It's gonna be
I'm
cool, man.
excited for it. I'm very excited for it, and that's why we're building, and that's why we're trying to scale. We're trying to raise some funds and like hire a real team here, and I'm really excited for V1. Really excited.
So what is so you mentioned V1, right? So what's kind of next for Polysights? Like what is your next yeah, I mean your next move? I mean, I know V1, but if you want to highlight like maybe just tease a little bit about what's coming.
Yeah.
Uh
So, pretty much like getting Insider Finder to a much more in-depth tool outside of just like kind of more of a general scanner. with more kind of like actual things that you can do on that tool itself. So that'll be a big focus, expanding upon that. The agentic side that we talked about earlier, that's going to be a big focus for us, but that's going to take some time. Lots of partnerships coming through here in the background, like new devs coming in the background. That's going to take a couple months to really like get going, but that's going to be a big focus for us as well. Having users being able to deploy their own agents for execution or have their own agents for monitoring, depending on what tasks they want. That's going to be a big one for us. And another big focus I'm really excited about. I didn't really want to talk about this, but I don't, at this point, it's like, if they're going to try to copy, it's going to happen. So I had a big interview with a bunch of like professional poker players that are in prediction markets now. And they told me that their entire meta changed when people introduced like HUDs to poker. Pretty much like as soon as you had a hand, it told you like what the best odds were at the time compared to everyone else's hands. And they also said like, hey, like why don't we have this for prediction markets yet? And I'm like, damn, like you're right, we do have the metrics for this. So I'm thinking like what we're gonna work on here is kind of like a tool where you have a kind of like either a browser extension or an app where it's like a HUD, so you can see all these advanced metrics within whatever platform you're using. So say you go on Polymarket and you enable this tool, as soon as you go to the holders tab, instead of just saying the holders and their shares, it says like their profit and loss and like all these advanced metrics just right there. You go to that graph, instead of having that simple line graph, like it has like iconic tweets with like links and references right to X, like when things actually spike them up and down. You have like more advanced visuals that you can cycle through to have like more advanced things like within its own like native interface. And then we'll also have the all-in-one tool. So people who don't want to go to their own interface and have like that all-in-one kind of platform, that's where the intelligence kind of like trading terminal is going to come in. So not too many things we want to focus on, mainly insider finder, execution, and we're also going to have a big redesign, because I do appreciate all the compliments, but like I think that this is gonna get way better looking here soon when I have like a real professional designer. Like I think it does look pretty. I think I did a decent job for someone that like has like a pretty minimal experience in this, but like I have some like really talented designers that have an insane portfolios, and I'm really excited for like the Web 2 like kind of focus in the future as well. So a mobile app is something that's coming when we have more and more features kind of established first, but it's one step at a time, one feature at a time. Make sure that we deliver what the audience actually wants, and make sure we deliver it efficiently. That's why we don't rush into tokens. We don't want our entire mind share to be on a chart. Even though at the end of the day, I think it's good to launch token early and continuously put those features. But at this point, with the mind share spike we have, I like the pace we're at now. So I just want to continue it up. Tokens definitely coming, and at that point, I know it's going to change the pace. But I just want to make sure we hit a decent baseline first before we launch that and start pushing. But yeah, really excited for that in the future. If anyone whoever's listening right now, that's the only alpha you're going to get. I'm not posting about it, but token will probably most likely come next summer for people who are looking for it.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, it's tough to. I will say we launched our token.
You guys did fantastic.
Yeah, it did pretty well, but it does add a new dimension to building, which is it's depending on your comfort level,
Right.
it can be kind of bad or good.
If you have a
But
team for it and all that stuff, like it can be manageable for sure. And it's like
yeah,
it gives you all that mind share, and you could work with it. It could work out well, and you guys clearly did really well with it, because you guys are definitely, like, I'd say, if one of these top projects, about the top like coin projects for the prediction markets right now. So I mean, you guys are doing everything right.
yeah. And the only thing it does is I would say the only thing building with a token does is it accelerates things, right? It's kind of
Yeah.
like what you were saying, like when you launch a token, it's like, okay, now we launch our token, now we got to like excel, like you feel a pressure to like just which can be but it can be good or bad. Some teams do really well with that pressure,
Yeah,
teams don't.
I agree
um,
with you. Yeah.
so like but I'm super pumped to hear that you guys actually are planning on launching a token.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm excited
Yeah,
for it. Like I said, a lot of pressure though. I haven't launched anything under 100 million in a long time, so it's gonna be. I have to make sure we have enough features to justify at that kind of market cap if we ever get there. Like gotta make sure it's actually an insane platform. Like I said, Polysights is great right now, but if I were to put on a scale, like for where it's going to be compared to now, I'd say now is like a 2 out of 10 compared to like where it's going to be. I think it's going to be like it's gonna like, great. That's a great platform. I'd say this is like in general, like for prediction market projects, like definitely a lot higher than that. But just for my standards and where it's going to be compared to V1, like V1's going to be like a 9 out of 10 compared to this. Like it's going to be insane. Like I really do think that this is a great tool that people can use to make a lot of insights on, make great money. It's been working well. But man, V1 is going to be like night and day. I'm so excited for it.
Yeah, and to be honest, like I can't wait to get personally as a developer. I can't wait. So is your API open
No,
or is it
no.
still closed?
So that'll come with V1, and we'll have like two versions. We'll have an API for people who just kind of want insights, either towards like Telegram or people who just want to build their own. And we're also gonna have like enterprise level APIs. So we're gonna basically like aggregate a lot of our custom and advanced metrics and tailor it towards whatever the user needs. Like say that we're working with a product that needs liquidity services, like we'll help them with like risk assessments on markets, like things like that. So like, we're gonna tailor those APIs for the project, but lots of custom APIs will be coming, and we'll be like very receptive on how to work with them because we have that ex Google engineer that or Google architect, sorry, that has all that experience, and he's insane with the API work. So I'm very excited for that when it comes out.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm looking forward to. I can't wait to get access to that API. I think
Oh, I
that's gonna
got you,
be
man.
good.
I'll get you early access too
Yeah,
before it
that'd
even
be
comes
awesome.
on.
That'd be awesome. We were talking about that too, and doing something. But yeah, man, Trey, it's great having you on, man. It was great hearing about about what you're doing, what your plans are with Polysights. I'm really impressed with the work your team has done.
Thank you, man.
And yeah, it was awesome talking to you.
I appreciate it, man. Like I said, I apologize if I'm a little rambly sometimes. I'm a little manic at points, but I'm just passionate.
No, 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 no. We got so many good clips out of this. Like during the interview, I'm thinking, man, I got a whole bunch of good clips out of
There we
this. That's
go. There we
great
go.
stuff.
Awesome. But man, yeah, thanks again for the time as well, man. Just to have me on here means a lot. Like you guys are doing amazing things, and to take the time out of your day to highlight poly sites, it goes a long way. So thank you as a fellow builder. That does it warms my heart. So if there's anything we can do as well with poly sites to help push Polyfactual as well, please let me know. Maybe we have maybe a future integration we can work on or something. I'm not sure, but we'd love to work together. And like I said, thank you very much for all the support.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. I think future integration could be good, to be honest. I'm really looking forward to the API. So we'll touch base in Telegram and talk about it. But yeah, man, I'm
Awesome.
yeah. Yeah, thanks for coming on and yeah, we'll see you later.
Awesome. Thanks again for everything, man. Take it easy.
Cool. Take it easy.
See ya.